Okay, well, since Tara Lee and Quinn go back a ways, I thought it would be appropriate for Tara Lee Cook to introduce him. So come on up, Tara Lee.
All right, so as Russ said, I know Quinn. Our families both lived in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates at the same time, and Quinn is a great human. So aside from what he's going to teach you today, he's a good guy. Before co-founding Spire Ranges in August of 2015, Quinn spent virtually his entire working career in the shooting range industry. He got his start selling steel bullet traps to U.S. Air Force Base ranges, successfully selling and executing projects in the US, South Korea, Germany, Greenland, and later the UK. As a territory manager, he was the top earning salesman of his team for 5 years straight. With the support of his adventurous wife and 4 awesome kids, Quinn and his family moved to Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates, for a 3-year period. While there, Quinn built a network of key Gulf Cooperation Council partners from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain, to promote and market shooting range projects and services. Quinn graduated from Brigham Young University with a degree in finance. So please welcome Quinn.
Well, Tara, that was kind. Thank you for those nice words, and we loved our time being with the Cook family over in UAE. Anybody been over in that region, Dubai or UAE, or been in the Middle East? Okay, it's all right. It's a wonderful place. If you ever get the opportunity to go, you should definitely go, just to visit. So this is cool. I'm really stoked to be here. I mean, I remember doing this stuff when I was in your seat, and I was going to school. People would come in, and there was an entrepreneurial class that I belonged to, and people would come in and share little tidbits of wisdom, and it actually really helped. So I hope that, just by virtue of me being here today, I'll be able to share something useful or interesting to you, right? I mean, nobody likes a freeloader, and so maybe this is just my way of giving back to, it's the least I can do, right? To just come and share a little bit about my life. I'm going to give you a little bit of a life sketch. Some of it, it may be interesting to you. Other parts may not, but, we're here. You can't go anywhere, so let's just get started. So a little bit about me. Hang on. There we go. I was born in Chicago. I lived there as a young kid, and then Dad got a job in Salt Lake City, so we moved to Bountiful. Anybody from Bountiful in here? Dang, strike 2, man. Nobody.
That's weird.
It is. Bountiful's nice. I love growing up there. It's a great place. It's. We had a good upbringing up there. There was 8 of us. I'm one of 8, and Mom and Dad are still up in Bountiful. Grew up, I graduated from Bountiful High. I served a 2-year church mission for the LDS Church in the Dominican Republic, and I had a great experience. That's a cool little country. I love the DR, awesome little island. And then I went to BYU, and that's where I met Amy. So that's Amy and I on the left. We've been married, when that picture was taken, we've been married about 2 months. And on Monday, it'll be our 25th year anniversary. So that's kind of exciting for us. I always joke that she has the hard job. My job's easy, right? Because I'm married to her, and she's amazing. I really found an amazing girl. I love her to death. She's when we got married, we went and lived in Cairo for 4 months. Amy her minor was in Arabic, and so she had to go study in Cairo at the Language Institute. So right when we got married, a week later, we flew to Egypt, and I was dirt poor. I think my taxes that year when I filled it out in 1997, the year we got married, I think I made $6,000. So we're not independently wealthy at all to do this. We just scraped some money together. I deferred a semester of school, and we went and lived in Cairo for 4 months while she studied, and we had an amazing time. We came back at ground zero. I had no money at all, but luckily Cairo is a place where you can live on about 30 cents a day. At least it was back then. We rented a little apartment just north of Cairo in a place called Heliopolis, and we had a ball. We traveled all over the region, went to Jordan and Jerusalem, and hiked Mount Sinai. I would spend 100 times as much money as we did to have those memories because it was just such an amazing time to spend together. And I'm a little reflective and kind of emotional on it now because it's our 25th year anniversary on Monday, 25 years ago. These are our kids, 4 kids. This is what it's all about. I mean, what we're going to talk about today is kind of important. But it's just a way to, make a living. And when it's all done and when it's all said and done, this is what matters, right? Is family. So that's Audrey on the left. She's our oldest. She just got married in May. She married a kid from Mayfield. Who knows where Mayfield is? Okay, we got some people who know where Mayfield is. So she's turning into a kind of a cowgirl. It's hilarious because they come down to Mayfield a lot. His family's from here, and they're from Mayfield. They have a house down there. So we miss her a lot. She just got married in May, and we don't see a lot of her because they're up in Salt Lake living now. And Grace is on the left. She's at UVU. She's a cheerleader there. Sully, our boy, is a junior in high school, and Hazel, our youngest, is in 9th grade. So we live down in Highland, in Highland, Utah, and we've been there for a while. We like it up there. Anybody from Highland in here? Yeah, okay.
I went to Highland High School.
Highland High School, okay, that's good. That counts. So before we really get into, kind of the dirt, I want to do a little business trivia. I like trivia. Business trivia is kind of fun. It's kind of fun to see what you guys know and whatnot. So, okay, who knows the answer to this question? What was Apple Inc. estimated market value as of January 2020? Anybody have an idea of what that is? Any guesses? We talk about Apple a lot, right? I mean, Apple's a company that's ubiquitous in our lives. I mean, probably every one of us uses an Apple product, right? So what was Apple worth? Does anybody know, or anybody want to venture a guess on what their market value is? No? Please.
Is it around $1 trillion?
That's not a bad guess. It's actually $3 trillion. So it's hard to, that's a number that's hard to wrap your head around, especially in light of this. So look at all those companies up there. Apple is more valuable than all those companies combined. And those companies are not slouches. Those are big companies, right? It's insane to even think about the business valuation of Apple. Okay, next question. I love Red Bull. Not so much like to drink, but I love the story of Red Bull. I actually do drink a Red Bull every once in a while, sugar-free. But Red Bull has a fascinating story. Who likes Red Bull in here? I mean, you guys drink Red Bull every once in a while. Anybody know the answer to this question? A year. What would you say a year? How many cans of Red Bull is so? Anybody want to venture a guess? Gentleman over here was brave. Any other brave souls in here, please?
Billion?
That's not a bad guess. Low. $1 billion. Any other guesses? Please.
30 billion.
30 billion is a little high. Let's meet in the middle there. It's about 9 billion cans. That was in 2021. It's probably up a little bit. But you think about it, the Earth's population just passed what, 8 billion, they say? Demographers estimate the Earth's population at about 8 billion. So a can of Red Bull is sold, actually more cans of Red Bull are sold per year than everybody who lives on the Earth. That's pretty fascinating. The story of Red Bull, does anybody know that story? This is a total sideline, but it was an Austrian businessman. And he went to where? Where's Red Bull from originally, the drink? Who knows? What country? Asia. Think Asia. Thailand. Red Bull's from Thailand. It's a Thai drink. And it was developed, I can't even pronounce the name of it in Thai, but it was developed for long-haul truckers to keep them awake. This Austrian businessman went to Thailand, and he got there, and he was tired, right? He had jet lag, and he just grabbed this drink, and he drank it, and his jet lag went away like that. And he's like, wow, what is this drink? Long story short, he invested in the drink, called it Red Bull, and marketed it, and Red Bull is it's a really, really fascinating brand. What they were able to do and what they have done and continue to do as far as sell that drink. Okay, a few more. Who knows the answer to this question? Should be pretty easy. Think of the toys you see everywhere. Anybody? You probably have some in your like dorm room right now, like that you're playing with. Lego, right? So Lego, there are 86 Lego bricks for every person on Earth. That's kind of interesting. Okay, what about this one? This deals more with currency. Anybody wager a guess on this one? The third most traded currency in the world. Any guesses? Please. The pound is fourth. That's a great guess. The pound is number 4. What would the sterling pound's number 4? What would be number 3? Think Asia. Not the won. Well, somebody said it. The yen, Japanese yen. Yep. The yen. Okay. All right, let's get into logos. This is kind of fun. See how many of these logos you know. What's that one? This one. Lacoste. Good. This one. Firefox. Good. Iron Man. Very good. This one. I heard it. Roxy. Very good. Roxy. Timberland. Good. Ferrari, good. How about this one? DreamWorks, good. Any old timers out there? Yeah, the Rolling Stones. How about that one? Carhartt, good. Somebody said it here. Element, very good. Element, are you familiar with that brand, that clothing brand? How about that one? Walgreens. This is a tough one. The words have been redacted. Anybody recognize this symbol? I heard it. Who said it? Was that you? Okay. What did you say?
The London Underground.
The London Underground. Very good. That's the logo for the London Underground, the London subway system, the train system that gets you around over there. What about that one? And you guys are college students. You know that one. What about this one? Rolex. Good. Monster. Yeah, I heard it. Say it again. Kawasaki, good. About that one. Husqvarna, two of my loves, right? Like dirt biking. We dirt bike a lot down in Mayfield with our new son-in-law. Okay, so let's spend the remainder of the time. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my industry. My industry is shooting range equipment. So it's not shooting ranges. We don't own or operate a shooting range. A lot of times I'll talk to people and tell them what I do, and they're like, "Wow, that's great. I'd love to come shoot at your range." It's like, we don't have a range. All we do is build the equipment that goes into ranges, right? So if you came to our facility right now to shoot, you'd be really disappointed. It's a manufacturing and assembly shop with equipment and lots of steel and welding stations and things like that. So we build the equipment for shooting ranges. So you're a police officer down here, and every once in a while you have to go qualify and train with your sidearm, with both a handgun and a rifle. And to do that, you go to a shooting range, either an outdoor range like this or an indoor range. Who's been to an indoor range and done some shooting? Great, awesome. We build those too. I've got a couple of slides I'll show you of indoor ranges that are kind of impressive. So that's the industry that we cater to, right? And when I first got into the industry, I was at BYU, and I was in the finance program, and I love finance. I really liked math, and I thought I'd do something with that, and I really wanted to be an investment banker and an analyst. But I got introduced to this industry. There's a company in Provo that we compete directly with right now. And I got introduced to one of the owners, and he convinced me to consider a career in shooting range equipment. And I thought, when first I thought about shooting ranges, I said, well, there's only a matter of time until we can get to, there can't be that many of them. I mean, in a month, I'd get to all of them, I'm sure. And that was, I couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, here in the US, it's estimated there's anywhere from 18,000 to, 22,000 shooting ranges, both indoor and outdoor. One is culturally here, in the US, we love guns, right? And so there's a lot of sports shooting, and I encourage that activity, right? We don't do anything with firearms, and we don't do anything with ammo. All we do is build the equipment that allows people to train and shoot, right? So long story short, I got out of school and I joined up with that company. They're up in Provo, and I spent 15 years with that company. I started selling Air Force base ranges. Every Air Force base has a base range where they teach combat arms training and maintenance. They call them CADM shops, right? And so I first started selling base ranges for the Air Force, and that was a lot of fun. I loved going to Air Force base ranges, and Travis Air Force Base in California, and Barksdale, and Shreveport, and MacDill. I mean, the country, our country, the country's dotted with Air Force ranges, and so I did that for a while, and then worked in law enforcement, and then I went and worked in military, and then I'd been with the company for a while, and there was an opportunity in the Middle East to go open an office and start a division over there, and I did that for 3 years, and that's where I met Tara Lee and her wonderful family over there, and that was a great experience. It really defined us as a family. I mean, all the kids, everybody, we moved over and left, kind of the community we loved and were used to, and went and lived in the Middle East, which at first it was hard. We really struggled. It was hot, and we didn't know this place very well. We missed family, and I mean, you're half a world away. But in the end, it was we all cried when we had to come home because it was so devastating to leave that wonderful place. And Tara Lee can probably has similar stories with her family. It was really a neat experience, right? And I would another sideline here. I would encourage all of you to take opportunities like that as they come to you in your career. You may get presented with the opportunity to go somewhere international and work, even if it's just for a year, an internship, or I mean, here in America, I kind of tend to think that we think we have the corner on the market of doing everything the right way, right? But when you get out and see the world and see how people do things differently, it really opens your eyes a little bit. I mean, take the Middle East, for example. They've been writing contracts and doing business for thousands of years. I mean, the U.S., we're a relatively young company when you think of it, and they view us as such. They view us as very young and naive, and they know how to write contracts. They know how to do business over there. Everything I learned over here didn't really translate to doing business over there at all. I mean, it was very, very difficult in that respect. But also, I appreciated that education because it taught me a lot of things that otherwise I wouldn't have known had I not had that experience and tried to go do business over there, right? I mean, I could talk to you for all day long about that experience and how wonderful it was. We came back, and while we were over there, there was a couple of things happening with that company. That company that I was with lost a big military contract, which was really devastating. All right, it was an army range, a number of army ranges, and they couldn't quite get the product right for these army ranges. Right, army ranges are really unique. They're infantry ranges, and they're known distance ranges, and so you've got big 1,000-meter impact ranges with a very sophisticated target system that's solar powered and hydraulic, and it's got hit sensing to it, right? So as you shoot it, the target can sense the round as it goes through that target, right? And it counts it, and in 2 or 3 shots, that target's got to go down, then it's got to lift back up again. Pretty sophisticated target system. The company couldn't quite get it right, and the Army basically at the end of the day said, okay, that's we can't use you. We've got to default this contract. That was really, really devastating for the company. So when I came home, they'd fired the CEO that I was good buds with. He was gone, and he knew me, and and in my mind, he knew how wonderful I was. And I'm coming home now to a different company, and the new CEO doesn't know who I am, and he's got a tough job because he's got it's a tough industry, and he's got he decided that international business wasn't really a focus that he wanted to invest in. And so I knew that coming home like this, this is not the same company. I talked to a manager and I said, hey, look, I think I need to go do something else. Give me some time. I'm kind of looking for something else. If you can give me some time, then I can transition out of here. A couple of days later, another manager called me in and they said, okay, we're done. We're letting you go. And that was probably one of the most difficult things I ever had to go through in my relatively young life was somebody basically saying we'd like to part ways. We don't really want you around anymore. That was, oh man, I mean, it was talk about depressing. Like I was super devastated. So you know, I basically said, okay, so now it's like I've done this for 15 years. All I know is shooting ranges. All I know is ballistics, calibers, you know, what calibers do to different things when it shoots, when you shoot on it. It's a very unique vocabulary, right? It's so specialized. I'm thinking, what do I do? I'm gonna have to go get a job at Home Depot because I don't know how to do anything else, right? I mean, this is really what was going through my mind at the time. So I spent a year helping a buddy with a body camera company that he had. It was kind of fun. And then a buddy of mine that I used to work with at this old company said, hey, let's go to lunch. We went to lunch, and he said, hey, let's get back into the industry. I found somebody that could help us out, that can give us a little bit of capital for some ownership. We know this industry really well. Let's build a company. And I thought about it, and it sounded kind of interesting. I hadn't really considered getting back in, but long story short, this was in 2015, so this is about 7 years ago. I said, you know what, I do know this industry pretty well, and I had some success doing it, and it's kind of fun. Not a lot of people that do it. You know, I love the feeling of giving back to law enforcement and military. I like those guys, and those guys provide a valuable service for us. They put their lives on the line to keep us safe, and what I'm doing here is giving them a valuable tool to be able to do their job effectively and come home safely and keep the peace, and that's good, right? I mean, that's something that I really value as a citizen of this country, and so we jump back in, and that's how Spire was born, right? This was in 2015, and we had stars in our eyes. We're thinking, this is going to be amazing. We both know the industry, right? His name was Justin, and we're like, we're going to get into this, and we're going to just do amazing. It's going to be, people will love us. We know the industry. We got a good product, and and this is where life kind of happened a little bit, to where you have an idea in your head, and we're going to get into kind of what happened from there in the remaining time. So just real quick, this was Lehigh Police. We built their indoor range. This is kind of what it looks like here. We've got a target there. That black part you see at the very end, that's what catches the bullet. So as you shoot into that, and that's a pile of chopped rubber, right? And that's what catches the bullet. And then every once in a while, you got to go in and mine that out. Those targets are exposure targets. So those targets that we make, they turn, and you can program it to give 2 or 3 seconds exposure time to that shooter. And in that exposure time, let's say if it's a 7-yard qualification, they've got to shoot 2 here in the chest and 1 in the head, right, on the target. And then after 3 seconds, that target will edge, so it's not exposed to the shooter anymore. And then you score it that way. That's how you qualify and kind of train and score if you're a law enforcement officer. That was a really abbreviated, paraphrased way, but in a nutshell, that's what it is. Basically, you have an exposed target, and you have to engage on that target, depending on what the qualification or the test is, or the course of fire, and then you get scored on that. So essentially, that's what that is. This was one we built for Colorado a couple of years ago. It's 100 feet wide, it's 50 yards long, and you can see how high that ceiling is. It's about 15 feet high. And because they bring in Bearcats and tactical vehicles in here to basically engage off of those vehicles. So they, when there's a big call out and a SWAT team has to roll out in an armored vehicle, a lot of times they'll have to engage threats from that vehicle. And so they do that in this range, which is kind of cool. Everything you see there is either an acoustic product or a rubber product, and then behind that is armored steel. So if we're sitting on that range and I, for some reason, elevate my muzzle, which I'm not supposed to do, and I squeeze a round off, that round is going to be captured safely up into the ceiling, because that's armored steel up there with rubber. Same type of bullet trap and same type of target system. So this is, we do a lot of these types of tactical ranges, right? And this is, so this is what we do. This is what Spire does. Now, I'm going to get into, it's interesting because I always appreciate, entrepreneurs are really you know, there's a lot of qualities that make an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurs can be a lot of different people. I mean, the street vendor in Bombay selling street food, he's an entrepreneur, right? I consider myself an entrepreneur. Steve Jobs was an entrepreneur. I mean, there's a huge chasm between us in terms of what we do. But entrepreneurs really, I think, are the backbone of this country. And I always appreciate when an entrepreneur is honest, right? Like, I see somebody who's very successful. They're a very successful entrepreneur. And I always appreciate when they say, look, this is all good and everything, but let me tell you the real story. Let me tell you how hard it was. And some of the things that I went through that, you know, frankly gave me a lot of pain at the time. Because it's not all, you know that, right? Through the course of listening to different lectures, you know, this semester, and I'm not the first to tell you this. I mean, there's a lot of pain that goes along with this, right? And what are the lessons there? I mean, for me, I've really had to reflect on what the lessons are as I've built this company, because you know some of those lessons and some of the pain has been profound, right? And I'm going to talk about what 15 minutes. Okay, I'm going to talk about what some of that pain's been. I mean, this is. I've got a list of a couple of things here. I could have had a list of 50 to 100 things that I felt like went wrong. And you know, and a lot of times life is like this. When you decide to do something, the universe has a tendency to say, okay, let's see how serious you are. Like, you really want to do this? Let's see how bad you really want to do it, because I've got some things in store for you. And I felt that way. I felt like, look, I know this industry, this shouldn't be this hard, but it is. It's really, really hard. First thing was partners. We had, when we first started, I had a friend, a contact in the industry that I'd known a long time. I trusted this guy. I considered us to be really good friends. He helped us develop our target systems because he was a really good kind of electrical engineer. We needed some help developing our target systems. He helped us. And so we had an agreement with him, and he was not supposed to violate that agreement in terms of these designs were ours, right? They couldn't sell them to anybody else. Turns out he shared them with another person. And that caused us a lot of heartache, right? I mean, these were our designs. This was somebody I trusted. I felt totally betrayed. And you know, I remember when I was in your seat back at BYU, an entrepreneurial series, a guy came and spoke to us. I don't even remember what his industry was. But I remember him saying, he said, look, at every step you take, you need to ask yourself, where are you exposed, right? I mean, you come up with an idea, that's great. You share that idea with me, I'm going to take that idea, and I'm going to go make money off it. And I thought, man, that is cruel. How could you say that? Like, you know, this guy was probably a good, upstanding citizen, had a family. I couldn't believe it. Frankly, that is the reality, right? I'm glad he said that, because it's 100% true. That is the reality, right? You have to protect yourself, because there's people out there that will take advantage. It may not be illegal, too. You may not have any recourse to do anything about it. That's just the way life is. So this happened to us, and I was devastated, right? That was really, really hard. Painful lesson. We had to take him to court, and it cost us a lot of money. And you know, for him selling those designs to somebody else. We had an acquisition that we wanted to make, and I was really excited about it. It was a company that I'd known a long, long time and competed against. They wanted to sell, basically. They wanted us to buy them. So we went, and we were really excited about this. It was a really good complement to our product line, right? So it's a competitor. They made a real unique bullet trap that we liked. So we're like, okay, this is great. Let's buy them. We'll add it on to our product line, and it just makes us better. The day that we were going to close and buy this company, they sent us an email and said the deal's off. I mean, the very day we were to close, we had spent untold hours and time on this, and they just like that changed their mind, and it went away. And that stopped me for a week. I was so depressed. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that happened, because in my mind, I envisioned this wonderful new product, and it was going to be so great. And just like that, it was done. It went away, and there's nothing we can do. It's not like we can force them or take them to court or hire a lawyer, say, no, you have to sell to us. Like, no, we don't have to sell to you. This is our company. We don't want to sell anymore. And that was devastating, right? A customer, we did a big shooting range for a customer on the East Coast. We were so excited about this job because it was like, for us as a young company, they chose us, right? I mean, this was a big fancy range out on the East Coast. Give us really good exposure. We were so excited about it. We get about halfway into the project and he just stops paying us. And, that's a little concerning. We'll call him Steve. I called him up. I said, Steve, what's going on? He's like, yeah, this stuff doesn't work and I'm just not going to pay you. As I look back on it, one of the most dishonest guys I've ever had to deal with and do business with. But, what do you do? He knew he had a young company. We didn't have deep pockets. We couldn't go sue him. He just basically said, okay, I'm going to keep using this stuff. It's here, but I'm not going to pay you. And wow, okay. That was tough. As a result of that, we couldn't pay a couple of our vendors. And they took us to court. They sued us. So here again, I'm starting to think, wow, what did I do wrong? Who did I offended somebody somewhere because I am cursed. It can't be this many things going wrong, right? This was a really, really tough one. This one is just a generic kind of when you're an entrepreneur, you've got to realize that it's, when you're building a business, there really isn't a clock that you punch out and you don't forget it about, or you forget about it until the next day. At least that's my experience, right? I mean, I would, as you're building a business, I'd go watch my son play baseball, and you're there at a baseball game and you're having fun, and he makes he makes a nice play, and then all of a sudden right here it's like, oh, I gotta pay that vendor. How am I gonna pay that vendor? They're gonna cut us off and not do work with us if I don't pay him anymore. Or I've got an employee that's unhappy. It's always right here. I could never step away from it, right? I mean, some jobs you can do that, right? You can just clock out and you're done. So somebody else clocks in and does what you were doing. A lot of times entrepreneurs don't have that luxury, right? It's always in the front of their mind. It's always right here, okay? So that's something to consider. This was a hilarious story. I'll be really quick. I got a check from a customer, and this check, I needed this check. I begged and pleaded for this check because I had to make payroll. At the time, we had about 10 employees. So they sent me this check. I'm leaving town in the morning, and I have this check. I was driving a truck that had a console right here, and somehow this check, I'd put it right there because in the morning I had to go deposit it. Somehow this check got lost and got wedged down in the console underneath, disappeared. It's gone. And this was Sunday night. I go to get it. I was like, where is this check? And I look, I can see just a tiny sliver of the envelope. It's I can't get to it. I can't reach it. I had to pull that whole console out. I'm out there just cussing and freezing because it's cold, trying to get to this check. It was just and then, so I get the check, and then I deposited, but it was too late. We missed payroll. I had to send an I had to send an email out to all my employees, and I felt like such a bum. I was like, guys, I'm really sorry. It just doesn't sound good. I mean, how do you make that sound good and even believable? I had the check, but I lost it in the console. It really does sound like a dog eating your homework kind of thing. It was the most embarrassing thing to go through, but it was just one of those things that happens. This is hard, right? Losing valuable employees, employees that when you're an owner, you're building this thing. It's your baby, right? But employees, that may not be their goal. Their goal is not so much to help build this with you. It's look, I'm just working, but my goal is something different, right? I've got different interests to you. We're not it was hard for me to realize that employees have their own desires and goals. It's not so much thinking the way I do, and so they're going to get other opportunities, and those opportunities are really good because you've got good employees working for you, but they're going to get that was really hard for me because they're going to get an offer to go somewhere else, and then they go. You know, it's a life decision they got to make. And I was so hurt by that. I was like, dude, you really don't want to be here? I mean, even family members that I had hired, they, after a little bit, they're like, look, this is kind of hard. You're young. This guy over here makes a little bit more, and I kind of want to make that. And, you can't pay that, so I've got to leave. And that was so hard. I mean, that really is a tough lesson, because you spend a lot of time teaching these guys and training them and learning, teaching them to speak this language of ballistics, and then they go. And that really hurts. That was a hard one for me to get over, right, in the early days. And then handing it over, like a couple of years ago, this had taken so much of a toll on me and in my life. I felt like I had aged 20 years. I mean, I was exhausted. This was really hard. And so a couple of years ago, I talked with my partner, and we said, look, we've got to hand this over to somebody, and let them run it. And we just do kind of what we're good at. And you've got to go focus on getting jobs and building revenue and business development. And that was probably one of the hardest things for me to accept, that was a good decision. And it was a good decision, because this, the partner now that came in, and he's the president, he's better. He's the right person to run it. And for me, it allowed me to focus more on the role that I'm good at, which is going and doing business development, finding new projects, visiting ranges, and talking about kind of what they need, doing upgrades, right? Like that, I wouldn't have realized that had I just kind of stubbornly hung on and thought that I could do it all, right? You can't do it all. You need good people around you. So, okay, so what are the takeaways here? We have 5 minutes, and I just want to leave you some parting thoughts, because there is a lot of takeaways here. There's a lot of things that I've learned, right? Like, one of them is this word failure, right? Failure has connotations that are uncomfortable for us. It's not a comfortable word, really, failure, and it makes you look bad. It's not that comfortable to say, I failed. Right? Failure is a word that I've completely changed my relationship with through the course of building this business, right? And failure is not final. That would be something that no matter what you do in your life, always remember that failure is not final. Life is not a scorecard with that you win or lose. It's never a straight line, right? There's ups and downs. That is what life is. Life is like that, right? I recently read a book by this guy, Tim Kennedy. Who's heard of Tim Kennedy? Awesome patriot. He had a really good career as an MMA fighter. He was a Green Beret. He just got kicked out in his early career. He wanted to be a cop. He got kicked out of the police force. And then he got 2 girls pregnant at the same time. One of them came to him a couple days later and said, hey, by the way, I have HIV. I mean, he's like, he's like just beside himself. He's so depressed. So he goes to this bay in California. This is all in his book. It's called Scars and Stripes. He goes and he swims. He undresses, and it's night. And his plan was just to swim out there until he sank, because he was ready to end it all. And a lady saw him undressed, and a lady saw him actually go swim out in the water. That was kind of unusual to her, because it's 10 o'clock at night. She contacted the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard took a boat, went out and found him just out there by himself swimming in this cold water. And it was like a therapy session for him. The Coast Guard agent was like, hey, what are you doing? Like, is it really that bad? Like, you're not going to last very long out here. Can I help you? And he ended up talking through with this Coast Guard personnel on this boat. Long story short, he came in, but he talks about that as a way to, if he hadn't have gone through that and hadn't have been kicked out of the police force, he wouldn't have found his true calling to be a Green Beret, right? He loves his 2 daughters. He got 2 daughters out of that experience. Although not ideal, he loves those 2 kids. So you've got to earn your stripes with scars, right? Scars are a good thing. You need scars. You're going to get scars in life. Scars get you to where you're going. Scars allow you to earn your stripes, right? So don't be afraid of earning scars. Time under tension. Who's heard of this time under tension? If you follow And the weightlifters that I follow, they always talk about time under tension. That muscle, as you lift, needs time under tension, right? That tension allows that muscle to break down in order for it to get stronger. So time under tension is a big deal. The brain is no different. Your brain needs tension. You need to exercise your brain just like you would a muscle. And if you don't, it becomes weak. So time under tension is a big deal. Tension is a healthy thing. I've recently gotten into Stoicism, and for those of you that know a little bit about Stoicism, basically I would sum it up as to being grateful for everything, including and especially suffering and failure, right? Because it's going to come. And Stoics, it's a philosophy that was back from the Hellenistic period. But they're basically, their whole mantra is you have to suffer. And if you don't suffer, you're not progressing. So be grateful for suffering. Have gratitude in everything, but have gratitude that overcomes even any kind of suffering. A lot of times you think that the deck is stacked against you as you go through life. I promise you the deck's not stacked against you. You just need to be grateful for suffering, because you're going to suffer. You just need to be tougher, right? There's kids in the world right now who would give anything to be in your chair right now, sitting at a college, reading and being educated. The world doesn't have that opportunity in a lot of places, and you guys do. I promise you the deck is not stacked against you. The deck is stacked for you. Failure allows for you to find your calling. Shun comfort, right? Do the hard thing. Don't be comfortable. A comfortable person is a weak person, is a person that's not progressing. Lastly, in your life, there have to be challenges, right? They will either make you stronger or they will destroy you. But you make that decision, right? You make the decision which road you take. I feel like through the course of my career, I've gone through some things that could have destroyed me, and I was close. I was right there, right? I was so depressed that in some cases that I was really, you feel like throwing in the towel. You're done. But I'm so glad I didn't, guys. You have to have experience. Experience is so valuable, right? Experience allows you to know what not to do. It doesn't necessarily make you smarter than the next person. You just know what not to do. So go for that experience, right? And just accept the challenge and be grateful for everything. And that's it. Thanks, guys.